Good day everyone, welcome to ITS 208 and CSC 209. This is Graphics and Visual Computing. My name is Julius, your instructor. Today we're going to have our very last discussion for our course. This is a pre-recorded class in continuation to our discussion about Adobe Photoshop. Today we'll be talking about color grading and color matching. So be sure to watch the entire video, listen and understand the lessons attentively. After this class, I will post your final requirement. If you have any questions or clarifications, please go ahead and comment your question down to our Facebook group post, or you can send in your question to our Facebook chat group. So previously, we've talked about the different adjustment layers for Adobe Photoshop, and today we are going to learn color grading and color matching. Again, this would be our very last discussion for this course. I hope you guys by now you already learned something from for Adobe Photoshop, and I hope that it inspires you to learn more about Adobe Photoshop and any other industry standard designing software out there like Adobe Illustrator, Adobe InDesign, etc. My apologies if this does not we are unable to learn all about Adobe Photoshop as we are supposed to due to the current situation that we're facing, but at least we're able to discuss or we're able to learn the basics and the most important thing that you have to learn for Adobe Photoshop. And the last and perhaps one of the perhaps most powerful technique that you should learn in doing composition is color grading and matching. So when we say color grading, in photography or in graphic design, it is a process of changing and enhancing the colors of an image. It is used to change and enhance the mood of the design. It is also used to make the design more aesthetic, meaning to make it look good. And color matching refers to blending the colors of multiple images in a Photoshop composition. So allow me first to show you some of the graphic design that I've done for the past years, and this involves color grading and matching. Allow me just one moment. Okay, so here's one of the graphics design that I've done that involves graphic color grading and color matching. So basically, again, color grading is enhancing the color of an image, and then color matching is making sure that or blending the colors of multiple images when doing composition. So that's one. Allow me to show you just one more before we proceed, just to give us an idea what we are trying to do. All right, here it is. Okay, all right. So that are some of the compositions that I've done, and that involves color grading and color matching. So for color grading and color matching, the one most important thing that plays a huge role in doing so are the adjustment layers. Again, the adjustment layers play a huge role in color grading and matching. The most common adjustment layers involved are levels, curves, hue and saturation, color lookup, etc. Although there are almost all of the adjustment layers play a big role in color grading and matching, but these are the most common. And perhaps these are the things that we are out or the color adjustments that we are supposed to master for us to master grade color grading and matching. Okay, so there are different steps. There are many ways in performing or in color matching, but here are some of the steps that I personally use when doing composition. So there are many ways in blending colors of multiple images when making a composition. The easiest way, however, is composed of three main steps. There are only three main steps, and of course, again, this does not limit only to these three steps, but again, in my case, what I usually do are these three, and of course, you can add more if you desire. So the first one is matching the brightness. Second is matching the color saturation, and lastly, matching the color. And there, of course, there are other steps before you can finish your composition, but again, we're just talking about color grading and matching. Okay, so let's talk about the first step, matching the brightness. So the first thing that you're going to do matching the brightness of two images, the first thing that we're going to do is to add black and white adjustment layer. So add, and then we'll have to add adjustment layer, level adjustment layer rather, and then we have to clip mask. That means we are only going to apply it to our subject, and then match the brightness and the darkest part of the image. That excludes the sky, sun, and naturally black objects. Then optional, we can use the info panel to test the light. All right, so let's see what we are talking about. Let's open up Adobe Photoshop. All right, basically this is what we are trying to do. So this is what we are trying to um, compose here. So hopefully I will be able to make it again. Okay. All right, so this is what we are trying to do. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to open up our background image, and I think I've got it right here. All right, so we want this image to blend with this model, this one. Okay, so we want this model to blend, this photograph of a model to blend with this image. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is, of course, we're going to place it. So to place it, there are many ways to do that, but the easiest way perhaps is to go to your image, background image, and then select place embedded, and then select the photo, just like that. All right, so we're just going to increase the size a little bit to make sure that it will mabagay siya sa ato ang design. So let's just try. Okay, make sure to press shift to maintain the aspect ratio of the image. All right, okay. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the background, which is color white, and there are different ways to do so, and it would be very easy since the background color is white. And the easiest way to do that is we're going to select the lasso tool, this one, lasso tool, or press L on your keyboard, and then we're just going to trace around the subject. Okay, we're just going to roughly trace the, around the subject. This is just to minimize the white colors that we will be working. Now, once the two ends meet up or meet, then the selection will be made automatically. As you can see, there will be katong naay mga langga, murag lamigas nga magdagandagan. So basically, we've already created a selection. Next thing that we're going to do is going to click select at the top, and then select and mask. Again, click the select on the menu bar, and then select and mask. Okay. Once you open it up, you'll be seeing this, screen. So basically, the red color are the ones that are transparent, and we want to make sure that the remaining white areas will be transparent as well. So we are going to paint it with color red. Okay. So how do we do that? Make sure to select the second row, the second icon, which is Refine Edge Brush Tool. Diba? We have here different icons here. We have Quick Selection Tool, we have Refine Edge, so on and so forth. We want the Refine Edge Brush Tool. Okay, select that, and then we just have to either decrease or increase the brush. Okay, so again, to decrease and increase, you just have to right click and then slide the size left to decrease, and then slide it to the right to increase. However, we have shortcut for that. That would be the katong curly brackets. So open up curly bracket will decrease the size, and then close curly bracket will increase the size. So we're just going to set it to maybe something like that, and we are going to start painting the white area. Now, the Photoshop will automatically detect the edges. Of course, the edges would be the hair, diba? When we brush it. So let's try. Okay. So we just have to carefully brush around the edges, and then the Photoshop will automatically select the hairs, the edges of the hair. Okay, so it's very important that the photograph that you should be using is very clear, high definition, clear and high definition. Okay, so let's continue doing so. So the reason why we are using this instead of what we've done with our previous lesson, we're using pen tool. It's because imagine using pen tool for these detailed image like hairs. It would be very hard for us to do so and almost impossible. So good thing Adobe Photoshop offers this tool for us to easily select hair, you know, select hairs. All right, and then we're just going to paint here. All right. Okay. So it's done, although it may look perfect, but it's not. So once we're done, we just have to click OK. However, here's what's gonna happen. Okay. So when we press OK, the next thing that we're going to do is to mask it. Meaning mask, we are going to separate the selection from its background. To do so, you just have to click this, Add Layer Mask. Okay. Just click Add Layer Mask right here. All right, so that's it. Um, it will automatically separate the selection from the background. Now notice that it's not perfect, diba? If you we're going to take a closer look to the hair, na daghan kay mga puti-puti, and we don't want that. We want it to be as perfect as possible. So we're just going to undo, Control Z, and then hold on. All right, and then let's select, and then let's click select, and then select mask again. This time we have to minimize, or we have to eliminate those white areas around the hair. And to do so, we are going to click decontaminate colors. Kani i-click na nato yung checkbox for decontaminate colors. That will automatically reduce the white areas around the katong sa atong hair, sa hair. All right, so once you selected that, click OK, and then that's it. All right, so this time the hair, the selection, how we selected the hair is a little bit perfect compared to a while ago. It's better than what we did a while ago. Okay, so we're already done with the selection. The first, we haven't done the first step yet in color grading. Again, the first step is to match the brightness. So again, the first thing that we're going to do is, or the next rather, the next thing that we're going to do is to add black and white adjustment layer. So let's do that here. Black and white. To add the adjustment layer, remember, just click this and then add black and white. Okay. And then that's it. We just have to close this. The reason why we have to select black and white, because we want to determine the we want to set the brightness and the dark, I'm sorry, we're going to blend the darkest area and the lightest area, or the brightest area of the image. So we're going to match the brightness and or the brightness of this image compared to the background. And the best way to, to visually see it, or to do it, then we're going to add black and white. We're going to turn the entire thing to black and white. Okay, so once we're done, let's select our subject. So let's rename this subject. Okay, let's select the subject, and then we're going to add another adjustment layer, which is the level adjustment layer, and then we have to click mask. Okay, so levels here. All right, and then click mask is where you go to click the mask. We're going to click this, or not click mask, but click the layer. That means it everything that we're going to do with the layers will only apply to the image itself. All right, and then next is we are going to match the brightness and the darkest part of the image. Okay, so this might be a little tricky, but this is a game of the eye. Kumbaga bana-banaon lang nato, o unsa ang, ug unsa ang sa gana nato nga I'm sorry, bana-banaon lang nato og unsa dapat ang level sa brightness and the darkness of the image. So let's try to move it let's move our subject right here for the meantime, so that we'll be able to determine. We can find a spot where we can determine properly the proper, brightness and contrast. So let's go back. Okay, make sure you've selected this, and then the properties will automatically display. Okay, so let's start by making sure that the darkest area will match. So we'll try moving this part to the right para match siya. Carefully move it to the right. Okay, until such time that until mura siya match to the background. So right now it's too dark, so we want it to be a little bit lighter. So let's try that. Okay, and then let's try to match the brightest area of the image to the brightest area of the image. However, we are going to exclude those things that are naturally light. Hayag. Kumbaga, if na ay adlaw diha, na isuga diha, we're going to exclude that because naturally it's like hayag man siya daan. However, since we're talking about we're working on a person, di ba? Wala may suga ang person. So we want the lightest part of this image aside from the white t-shirt are the reflection of the reflection sa light sa iyang naong. Okay? So we kind of want to match that to the reflection of this ang mga reflection aning nga background image. So what are the reflections here? Di ba? Kani. So aside sa light, so we will exclude this because naturally this is bright colors. So we're going to exclude it. We're just going to find the brightest reflection. And we are going to match it with the reflection dere. Okay? So let's hide it again. So right now, as we can see, let's move it closer para ma-compare dyan nato. Okay? So as we can probably see, light ra kaayo ang atong picture right here, ang atong background compared sa subject. So we'll try to increase the highlight or the bright area. So we'll try to move it right here. Siguro kana. All right. Okay, I'm not real sure, but let's move it. So you can move your subject around para makuha ninyo ang proper nga light or brightness. So I'm just going to experiment it right here, and then let's see if okay. All right, let's check. Okay, I think that's it. All right. So so far we've matched the. It's not perfect, but still we're working on it. But so far it matched on the darkest area, which is kani, already matched with the hair, which is the darkest area. And then as for the highlight, as you can see here, kaning lips niya, it almost match to the kuan kaning reflection here. So again, we're going to exclude kaninga white because this is naturally white, and we're going to exclude this as well because this is naturally light colors. So let's unhide or let's hide our black and white adjustment layer, and then let's move our subject back to the center. Okay, so that's the first step. So what's next? All right, so second step is to match this matching the saturation. So add selective color adjustment layer, and then tune the black colors of each color channel to negative 100, and then make sure to set it to absolute. Tune the tone to 100. The darker the color, the less saturation. The lighter and higher the higher saturation. The goal is to match the saturation to the background. Okay, so let's open up our, and then next we have to add hue and saturation adjustment, make sure to blend the subject to the rest of the image as much as possible. Okay, so next is we're going to add selective color. So, kana, aturo na siyang I'm sorry. Let's move it upwards. Okay. And then, selective color. And then again, we're going to set, diba? We're going to tune the black colors of each channel to negative 100. Okay, so as na ay colors dire kana. So let's select reds. Okay, whenever we click the drop down, it will give us different color channels. So for the color channels, we're going to move it or set the black color to negative 100. Okay, so again, let's start with the red. Let's set the black color to negative 100. Let's do the same thing with the rest of the colors. Yellow, let's move that to 100. Greens, let's move that, or let's tune it back to negative 100. Cyans, same thing. Blues, kana. Magentas, kana. Okay? And then, next is we are going to tune the tone to 100%. Okay? So, ang mga tunes we have, tones, we have white, neutral, and black. So, for the white, we are going to move it to the right. That's going to be positive 100. And then neutral, same thing. Then blacks, same thing. Okay, so this time it turned our design into a little bit hideous. It's almost scary to see, but this is what we want. Basically, these are the level of saturation of the colors. So the darker the color, the less saturated it is. The the brighter the color, then the more saturation. So as you can see, medyo taas ang saturation sa itong background. Daghan kayo mga light na colors. So we want to match the saturation of our kani to this. Okay, so we're going to hide that, and then to do so, we're going to add hue and saturation adjustment layer. So let's click our subject again, select that, and then use saturation. All right, now this may be a little bit tricky, so here's what we're going to do. This is a very easy trick to do. Now, we can either mess with all of this, but it will perhaps change overall color of our design to mahimo na siyang lahi na noon siya kayo. So instead, an easy way to do so. We're going to use this icon. So siya, click and drag in an image to modify saturation. We're going to click this icon right here. Make sure that we're still under master channel. So we'll click this icon right here, and then we will click it to the on the part that we want to set the saturation. And then we are going to click and drag it to the left to decrease the saturation. Click and move it to the right if you want it to increase the saturation. Okay, so let's try again. So we're going to click this icon right here, and then we're going to select the areas that we want to increase or decrease the saturation. So mo niya tong mahimong base ang background niya. We want this part to match on this part of the space kani mga hayag nga color sa iyahang naong. Okay? So since the face area is a little bit darker than here, so meaning mas less saturated siya compared to we're going to increase the saturation. To do so, we are going to click sa pinaka light nga area, so that, and click, and let's drag it to the right until nga murag mo match siya. Okay. So I think that's it. It matched on the medyo ni match na siya, di ba? And then let's see. Let's check. So to check og naunsa na siya ron, we're just going to hide the selective color. Okay. All right. And then let's check the before and after. This is the before, this is the after. Okay? So let's check for any other things that we might want to adjust. So how about this? Ano? Control Z. Let's increase the saturation. Okay, I think that will be fine. All right. So again, this is just a matter of kanang estimation, diba? Mata-mata lang. But let's check what we've got so far. Okay. So this is the before the saturation. And this is when we added the saturation. Okay, so dili siya kainin tanahon, but don't you worry, there's still a lot of things that we are going to do. We're still on the second step. Okay, so let's proceed to the third step, that is matching the side. Oh, I'm sorry, this is supposed to be matching the color. Let me change that back. Let me change that real quick. All right, so matching the color. So to match the color, we are going to use curves adjustment layer. So we're going to sample the black points, and then sample the gray points, sample the white points, and then apply the white point to the brightest color in the image, and then apply the gray point to the mid-tone color in the image, and apply the black point to the darkest color in the image. So what does it mean? Let's open up our Photoshop again. So let me just adjust the levels real quick. Just have to adjust this. Nara ko i-adjust kamay kaya medyo, hold on. Okay. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add curve adjustment layer. Okay, so curve is one of the most powerful tool for Adobe Photoshop. Basically, you can do anything with curves. However, learning curves or mastering curves will take a lot of time. So I'm just going to give you some of the things that it can do. All right, I know we've already discussed it with our adjustment layer discussion, but we're going to use curve practically, meaning we'll actually going to use it in an actual composition. So basically, there are different presets, diba? It will automatically be applied to your image. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of it. We're just going to set it to default, and then same thing. You can have different um, color channels here. So we have RGB, red, green, and blue. And always remember that, okay, we have RGB because we are doing this for online purposes, dili man siya for print. So the RGB, we have red, green, and blue. So if we're going to select with RGB, whenever we do something with the curve, with the line, it will affect with the entire thing, di ba? So let's set it to kana clip para ma-affect ra siya ani nga ba. So if we're going to do anything in it, all of the colors will be affected. However, we can always set it individually. So for example, we can set all the reds. Now, the concept is that if we're going to move the any part of the lines above, it will increase the color red. However, if you're going to move it below the horizontal line, it will decrease the color red and it will turn into the opposite color of red, which is, okay, cyan. All right. So the opposite of color red is cyan. So if we're going to move it upwards, then it will be red. If we're going to move it downwards, then it will the all the red colors will turn into cyan, diba? And then we have green. So if same thing, if we're going to move it upwards, all the color green will be increased. And then if we're going to move it down, then all the green colors will be color magenta because the opposite of green is magenta. And then same thing with blue. If we're going to move it upwards, then of course all the blues will be increased. If we're going to move it down, then it will turn into yellow. The opposite of blue is yellow. Again, remember, opposite of red is cyan, and then opposite of green is blue, magenta rather, and opposite of blue is um, yellow. Okay, so let's reset that. Okay, so this will be a little bit complicated learning the or mastering the curves, but in this particular scenario, in this particular composition, there are just a few things that we're going to do, which is sampling. Okay, ba? First is we're going to sample the black points. Double click to do so. Okay, so in this part, we're going to select the colors of our background image that is the darkest. So pangitaw na to ang darkest color. So let's check. Again, we're talking about the background. So we're going to find the darkest color, which is kani. All right? And then we are going to sample that, meaning we're going to take a sample of this color, mga pinaka-dark. So to do so, we are going to double-click this icon. So this is a black point, this is midpoint, and this is the white point. Okay, so for the darkest color, we're going to double-click this, and it will give us the color picker. And we are going to click kani magkuha tag sample ani nga color. I'm sorry, let's cancel that. Make sure that we've selected dili ang thumbnail but kani. So let's change that to kana. Click nato na kasam. Right, gay na nakadire mo kani na select mao nang white ang nigawas, but make sure na selected nato ang adjustment layer itself, not the thumbnail. Again, let's try again. Double click. Let's select the darkest color, which is kana, and press OK. And then we can just select no. Alright, so that is the darkest color. Let's select the white points lang. Okay, double click and let's try to find the lightest color, pinakahayag na color. So obviously, kani ang pinakahayag. However, again, we're going to skip the parts that are 100% white. So we are going to try to find somewhere in here nga dool pinakahayag siya, or in fact, actually that's it. So notice nga if pinaka-white pa ni siya is napanadira. However, so we're just going to look for the part that has tint of na siya gamay nga pagka green nga tint, which considers to be the lightest. Hold on. Okay, let's try that. Okay, let's try it for the meantime. Let's see how it works. So this would be the lightest color, and then set it to no, and then the mid-tone. So actually, guys, this would be mahimo ni siyang try and error. Mahimo ni siyang try and error, but don't you worry. What we are doing here is this is a design, and this is designing, and not all the time that we'll be able to get what we want in just one go. Okay, and then the last we are going to sample the midtones. When say the gray point or the midtone, we're going to look for a color that kuan ba kabantay mo diri nga side na ay medyo blue nga green, and then diri nga side is medyo red siya. So we're going to look for the color nga kanang murabag overall color sa kuan ba sa picture, which is about 50% dark and 50% light. So let's try this siguro kani. I'm sorry. Okay, let's sample the mid color, which is I think kani. All right, so it's not. If you can see, dool siya sa dark. If you're going to look at the palette, a color picker, naa siya sa tunga-tunga. So I think we're on the right track. So if nataas pa na siya, then that's too light. If nalubos pa na siya, then that's too dark. Or that's too, yeah, you know. Okay, so I think we're on the right track. Just select OK. Press now. Okay, so we're already done sampling, di ba? Gisample na to. Again, to sample, double click, and then select the darkest color for the black point. Same thing with the white point and the gray point. Now, next is since we've already sampled it, that means kani siya na gastor na siya sa atong color nga gisat kay ina. Now we're going to apply this color to our image. Kani. So let's start from the very white, the white part. So we're going to click that once. Instead of double click, we're going to click that once, and we're going to select the color that is the brightest. So I think kani. So let's try to click that. All right, kana. So we already applied our lightest color, and then let's select the mid-tone, kana ito nga, and let's look for the area that is about 50% bright and 50% dark. So I think kani. So let's try that. All right. And then lastly, we're going to select the area that is the darkest. So I think mauni siya, so let's try. Okay. All right. So that's better. So basically, we have our light, we have the mid-tone, and the darkest. So basically, it tried to copy what is the or it tried to blend to the colors, the dark, the mid-tone, and the white or the bright color of this image, diba? So that's it. So we're able to match the color from our background to our subject. Okay, so let's check so far what we've done. Let's hide this. The first thing that we did is we set the brightness, kana, and then we set the saturation, match the saturation, and then lastly we match the color. All right, so it's almost perfect now, and in fact, as far as color matching goes, this is already working. Okay, all right, the next step. So of course, as far as the color grading and the matching goes, this is already almost perfect. This would be kind of medyo madawat na siya. We just have to increase perhaps the level just to make sure. Hold on. Let me just increase the levels real quick. Okay. All right. So as far as color grading and color matching goes, this is already working. This is already perfect. However, since this is a composition, let's continue. So there are some additional steps that you can do when doing composition. So first is matching the sharpness. To sharpen the image, select filter and sharpen. To blur the image, select filter and Gaussian blur. Okay? So this will only depend if ang imong background is medyo move ang imong background, or perhaps ang imong, yeah, if the background is moving, then most sometimes you have to make sure that your subject will also give the illusion that it's also moving as well. Okay, or something like that. So allow me to show you a composition that I did that kanang medyo nag-talk about the sharpening and blurring of the background or the subject. So here, let me try to look for it. Optimus Prime, no. Dada. Okay. So basically, this is the original. This is obviously we have here the Millennium Falcon, and then if we're going to zoom it in, it's blurry. The reason why it's because, well, of course, this is taken using a phone. So since mas layo ang background, the aperture will tend to blur it out, di ba? So medyo blurry siya compared to the subject. And another thing, di ba? It also I've also added motion blur, because that is to visualize that the image is moving. Since kani nga sub objects are moving, so ako siyang gi-blur para mura siya og ni-blur siya because it's flying very fast. Okay? So in this case, we don't necessarily need this additional step. It's because everything is supposed to be still, diba? So we're just going to skip that. But just in case if you would like to do so, here's the thing. You have to select the subject and then select filter and then blur if you wanted to blur it, and then the best way to blur a photograph or an object is using the Gaussian blur, and you'll be given this option kani nga you just have to move it left or right to set the level of the blurriness. Okay, and then for if you wanted to sharpen, so select filter and then sharpen, and then sharpen edges, sharpen more, sharpen, and then smart sharpen. What I usually do is smart sharpen, and that way we'll be able to kuan ako pwede na ako siyang ma-set on my own. Okay? So we're not going to do that. Let's continue with the next additional step. Next is add other elements. Adjust the light, add other elements and effects. Okay? So I have downloaded here some, or not really downloaded, but I have searched some elements that I would like to add. So I want to add mga dust particles. I want to add smoke in it to make it look like this. So let's do that. But before anything else, let me point out one thing. So notice that we based our color from the color on the left side. However, as you can see, na ay mga red nga part diri nga side. So if to make it look more realistic, we want to reflect these red lights to the our subject's body. Okay? So we're going to do the same thing with what we did a while ago. So let's rename that to blue, and then right, and let's add another curve adjustment layer, and then let's clip it, and then let's rename it to red, and then left, because we want to make reflection give this part right here a reflection from this red light coming from here. Okay, so we'll do the same thing. Make sure that we've selected the adjustment layer icon. Let's set the darkest color, which is go to as my darkest ani kana, and then the lightest color, which would be okay. I think that's it. And then the mid tones, which is about 50% dark. I think though. Let's try. Let's just try this, and then press OK. All right. So since we've already sampled, we're going to apply it. So let's start from the lightest. So we're going to select light kani, and then let's select the lightest part, which is kana. All right, and then the mid tone, which I think kana. I'm sorry. Hold on. Oh no. Sub. Let me try again. Let's select the lightest color, which is kana, and then the mid tone, which is kani, and then the dark area, which is kana. All right. So I think that's it. So, however, as you can see, ganahan rat, di ba ganahan rat nga dire siya mo-apply na side. So we're going to make it look just like that. Okay? So this time we are going to use the one of the techniques for graphic designing, which unfortunately wala ako natutunan ninyo, which is masking or layer masking. So again, we are working on the red part. So again, we're just going to apply it in this area. Ganahan tanga dire sa apply. So we're going to select kaning thumbnail. All right. So make sure to click the thumbnail and then invert the color. To invert the color, or click Control I. Okay? So notice na instead of white, nahimo na siyang black, and then everything just nawala siya, di ba? Nawala. So this is layer masking. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to teach it to you, but here it is. So we turned it to black. That means it would be invisible if the thumbnail becomes black. Now, to make it visible again, we have to paint it with white. All right. So let's select the white color, and then let's use brush. Okay, and then let's decrease the size of the brush perhaps, and then let's paint the part nga we want those color grading a while ago, the color matching, to be visible again. Now you have to be very careful when doing so. We're just going to paint the areas that we want this red area to be visible. So obviously we're going to start painting it right here. Kana. All right, let's start painting it right here. We have to be very careful when doing it so though. Okay. All right. And then let's paint it kaning sa iyang ilong dapit sa iyang mata. Oops. All right. And then perhaps diri nga side pod. Okay. All right. So it's starting to blend now. It looks better. However, to make it look better, there's another trick to make sure that this will blend properly. Para mo blend siya properly, we're going to right click. Okay, again, we're still on the red left curve adjustment layer. Right click and then blending option. So we're going to make sure we're going to make it blend even more. All right. To do so, see this area right here. Make sure to press Alt on your keyboard, and then we are going to separate this icons. Actually, the one is like icon. We want to separate that. So click in this area. Make sure to press Alt, and then start click and dragging it to the left. And look what happens to our design. Diba? So this is Monigaina, and if we're going to move just half of it to the left, it will start to blend perfectly. Okay. All right. And then press OK. And then let's zoom it out. Okay. So it looks a little bit better. So we've already divided our colors from two. So we have here red area from this part, and then the blue area from this part. Okay. And then next is we're going to add ano pa man? We're going to add light effects. So of course, since there are strong lights in the background, we want it to reflect to the our model's body. So we're going to add new layer. Kana. Still, we're going to clip it. Ana. And then we will look for we will we will sample the color kani. I think that's it. Okay, let's sample this color right here. And using our brush, we are going to carefully brush the edges of our subject's body to give it an illusion that naa siya'y reflection coming from outside. Hold on. So this we have to be very careful when doing so. We don't want to paint all of it. We're just going to select the areas that nga na reflection supposedly. Okay, and here. So at tip, we have to use a kanang a brush kanang kani with with the lowest hardness, and let's erase the parts that we wala labot. Okay, kana. Let's give it butang ato gamay nga light lang. Oh, hold on. You know what? We'll skip that. Okay, and then let's do the same thing with our subject's body. All right, and then let's erase the parts that we don't want. Okay. All right. Okay, and then next we want to add some smokes, or particles. So I have here Googled some particles that I want to add. So let me copy and paste it right here. Okay, make sure it's at the top. Let me move it down below, and then let's change it to, I think, screen. All right. So by changing it to screen, it eliminates the black color. It all magpabilin lang ang katong mga light nga area. Okay, and then we have here smoke effects. Okay, let me copy that, and we'll put it below the model. So let's create a new folder, or let's create new layer right here below our subject, and then let's paste. Okay, di siya ka maklaro. Let's increase the size. Okay, and then let's flip it vertically. Okay, kana. All right, and same thing, we're going to set it to screen, and then let's just erase some parts nga obvious kaayo. All right, we can duplicate it if we want to, and then let's just change the orientation. Okay, all right, and then we can add some in the front. So let's Control J. I don't know. All right, and let's add it in the front. Okay, and then let's move it right here. Let's just decrease the size. All right, and then lastly, we're going to add effects to the colors to the smokes, of course. Puti, medyo nagsagol-sagol ra siya diha. We're going to add colors to the smokes. So we're going to add a new layer. Okay, we want this color right here to be blue, and we want this color to be red. So let's start from Kane. All right, let's create a new layer right here, and then okay, let's use our brush. Let's increase the size, and then let's paint it with Kane a color. Let's try. All right, and that, and then let's change it to overlay. Okay. All right, and then let's create another layer. This time para aning aside. Oh, sorry, dili dapat orange, dapat blue. So let's control Z, control Z. Let's change that with kaninga color dapat kana. Okay, let's paint. So let's change the blending mode to overlay. That's better. And then let's create a new layer right here. Let's select the color kana. Let's paint it right there. Let's change it to overlay. All right. And then let's do the same thing with kaning sa atong front. Let's create a new layer right here. Let's paint this area kana. Let's change it and then blue the ring aside, and let's change it to overlay. Okay. All right, so I think that's it. This has been color grading and color matching. Oh no, let me fix the background. How about if we're just going to set it to soft overlay light 10. Okay, just overlay. However, we just have to decrease the size or erase the area nga medyo nagsamok-samok. Okay. All right. Kana. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much for making this far. So this has been all right. Napadi ay, napadi ay. Addition one more step, and that is okay. Add LUT colors. When saying LUT color lookup tables, it sets the overall mood in the image by adding color lookup adjustment layer. Okay, so let's do that. So basically, one of the adjustment layers here called um, color lookup will give us LUT or lookup tables, and there are some lookup tables. Basically, it will give some sort of filter to our design. Okay, um, here are some of the presets. So let's try check one. Okay, so we have two strip. Then okay, you can go through with different filters right here if you want. Okay, for example, kana. All right, and if you're dili kaganahan aning mga look lookup table filters right here, you can always download more from internet. So you just have to click this and then look for the downloaded LUT. Okay, in my case, let's try this. Sa may nindot be. Okay, I think I like this more. All right, so this is the. Let me move it upwards. This is the before, and this is the after. Okay, and then you can save it. Select file, save as, and then here. I won't save this since I've already done myself. Okay, so this is the final product, and I hope you guys will be able to at least try to recreate this. I'm going to upload this sample photograph so that you can practice it on your own. Okay, and then here is your final requirement. For your final requirement, it says here final requirement 2 because I'm planning to have part 1, which is quiz, some sort of multiple choice, something like that. This is to give chance to others who cannot katong dili maka Photoshop. At least they will be given fair chance if they're going to take the exam nga na ay multiple choice, something like that. But for final requirement part 2, select a clear and high resolution photo of yourself. Choose a background photo, mask and match the color of your photo to it. More details are uploaded in the Google Classroom. So basically, you're going to do the same thing that we did, but this time you're going to have to use your own photograph. So I will upload this katong background image now a while ago, so that if you decide, you can use it, or you can download a background image on your own. The deadline would be Monday, August 2nd, 2021, and then I'm going to release your grade as soon as everything is complied. So that will be all for today. Again, thank you so much for making this far. Please keep yourself safe. God bless us all, and I'll see you soon.